Welcome to another edition of From the Ramparts. As we continue our discussion and commentary on the ongoing economic collapse that is unfolding before our very eyes, the corporatist mainstream media, which is primarily owned by a handful of corporations, many of the board of directors who sit on the boards of other major corporations will not tell the truth. They're not telling us just how extensive the economic collapse is, the real causes of it, and what we have to look forward to. Suffice it to say, in April, the March figures came out. The United States lost over 600,000 jobs, 663,000 jobs. Also, you have to realize that in 2008, 23 banks failed. That is, they were taken over by the FDIC, went into receivership. They were either closed or bought out by other banks, or the FDIC took over the operation of the banks. Thus far, in early April, there have been, in 2009, there have been 21 bank failures. 6 failed in January, 10 failed in February, and 5 failed in March, for a total of 21. In a previous webcast, I told you this was going to happen. Look for continuing bank failures. You can check it up periodically at the website of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, www.fdic.org. There's also a website called bankimplodometer.com. It gives you an update on what's going on in the banking industry. Also, you need to understand that many pension funds for state, local, county employees, government employees, are taking a major hit because of the theft and the collapse of the economic system. Many private pensions are also in trouble. And keep in mind, in the latter part of the 90s, many companies went away from the traditional guaranteed benefit pension to a form of guaranteed contribution, 401 IRA type employee only fund, or a collaborative effort between the employer and the employee. Because of the economic situation, many of those pensions were underfunded, just as the pensions in the public sector were severely underfunded. So not only do you have the underfunding, you also have the situation where because of the robbery, the theft, and the shenanigans of the investment, not only in traditional investment, but the shadow financial system with the hedge funds, the derivatives, the credit default swaps, and many of the type of actual gambling that has taken place recently. Many of these funds have been robbed and mismanaged because it was like most Ponzi schemes. They promised major returns, and although many pension fund managers were not supposed to invest in them, they did because they were lured into investing their clients' money, the employees' money, because of the promise of higher returns. Now they're seeing all that turn to dust, and many of the pension funds are in trouble for several reasons. Number one, because of the economy. 2, because of underfunding, and 3, because they have been raided by various governments to help them balance their budgets. The states, the counties, and the municipalities don't have the luxury of the federal government, where they can run huge, unsustainable deficits, where they can just go to the Federal Reserve Bank and tap money and create money out of thin air. State, local governments have to balance their budgets by law. So we're going to see this. If you're still working, if you're an older worker, check into the situation, the status of your pension plan. If you're a private worker and you have a pension, check to see the status of that. You can also, they have a obligation to give you reports, at least an annual report. So sometimes they give it several times a year, depending on what their bylaws and their rules are. But check into your pensions, because the depression is moving out, very similar to like when you throw a pebble into the brook and you see the ripples moving off all the way to the far shore. The economy has not recouped. It is not going to recoup, primarily because the fraudsters and the banksters have colluded, and they've sold their toxic junk all over the world, and they're causing a major global meltdown. You're seeing places like Iceland go belly up. Greece is in trouble. Spain is in trouble. Ireland is in trouble. There are several banks in France and England that are in deep trouble, but thus far their governments have moved to nationalize them and try to save what is essentially a house of cards from falling. So the truth of the matter is they can't save it. The Federal Reserves and the central banks can't print enough money, because the bets were made, they were over leveraged, there was very little collateral put down. They've over leveraged these debts 30 and 40 times. So now the debts are more than all of the economy in the West put together. So the only way they can, quote unquote, solve the problem is print more money, create more money, which will create massive hyperinflation, which will devalue the current money supply and also create a disastrous situation for the U.S. dollar as well as the economy. So these are some things to continue to look for. Look for the unemployment to continue to rise. Look for more bank failures. Look for more and more information to leak out about the precarious situation of your pension. So my advice to you again is to get out of debt as best you can. Create a budget that you can live with. Work to create some savings so you can have something to fall back on. Don't get caught up. There are a lot of people out here offering you plans to buy gold and silver, anticipating a collapse. But keep in mind that precious metals are also manipulated. The whole economy is manipulated by speculators, crooks, and charlatans. The whole system is corrupt. And the sooner you understand this, and the sooner you begin to address it and come up with plans to deal with the fact that not only is it corrupt, but it's collapsing. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we need to understand what's going on. We need to prepare ourselves, move to become more self-sufficient, move to expand your horizons, your store of knowledge and information about the system, how corrupted, has always been. This is not a new development. Learn how to become more self-sufficient, start finding ways. Recently, I signed up to be a part of a community garden, so I'm going to be planting and growing my own fruits and vegetables. And more and more of us are getting into that, but we need to take a more proactive approach toward our own lives, and thus empower ourselves and not be dependent on a totally corrupt system, a system that politically was set up to work on behalf of a totally predatory, corrupt, and amoral economic system. It was created by people of that kind of consciousness. This system reflects the consciousness of the people, the Europeans who created it. If we are to improve, we have to change our consciousness and move away from the exploitating and the predatory and the rapaciousness of the European system. Until next time, this is Junious Ricardo Stanton, wishing each and every one of you love, peace, health, prosperity, wisdom, but most of all, power. Stay strong.